my dear learners, for this course on design of machine elements 2. In this module 2, we were discussing about design of springs. In this final lecture on design of springs, we are discussing on springs subjected to fatigue loading. To design springs subjected to fatigue loading, AM Wall has given a standard procedure to be employed for completely designing the fatigue loading springs. First, we should determine the amplitude stress in shear, then we should determine the mean stress in shear, then we should calculate the unknown quantity by using factor of safety equation. Let us use the procedure suggested by AM Wall and solve for the problem number 20, which states that a spring is subjected to a load varying from 400 Newton to 1000 Newton is to be made of tempered steel cold wound wire. Determine the diameter of wire and mean coil diameter of spring for the factor of safety of 1.5. Spring index is 6. Torsional yield stress and endurance stress are 550 megapascals and 400 megapascals respectively. Let us list out the data given for this problem. So the data given for this problem are: we have maximum load F max is 1000 Newton. We have minimum load, that is 400 Newton. And we have to calculate the wire diameter and mean diameter. We have factor of safety is 1.5. Spring index C, which is D by D, is given as 6. Torsional yield stress and endurance stress are also mentioned. So torsional yield stress is 550 megapascals and endurance is 400 megapascals. Now applying the procedure suggested by AM Wall, who gave the Wall's correction factor considering the effect of torsional stress and direct stress on a compressive spring. Now, by knowing maximum stress and maximum and minimum forces, I can find amplitude force and mean force. So calculating amplitude force FA, which is equal to F max minus F minimum by 2, which is present in our design data handbook referring equation 11.16 G. So therefore I will get amplitude force as F max is 1000 minus 400 divided by 2 is 300 newtons. Similarly, if I calculate mean force F max plus F minimum by 2, this is equation 11.16 F. So I will get mean force as 1400 by 2, which is 700 newtons. A stands for amplitude, M stands for mean. So now by knowing amplitude force and mean force, I can calculate the amplitude stress and mean stress. That is from equation 11.1 D, we know that shear stress, allowable shear stress is equal to 8F CK by pi d square, where now I should separately calculate tau amplitude and tau mean. So therefore tau amplitude is given by 8 into F amplitude into C by pi d square into K, where K is given by 4C minus 1 by 4C minus 4 plus 0.615 by C. This is equation 11.2a. This people already know. So therefore, if I solve, I will get the value of K as, so spring index is 6. So therefore, if I substitute spring index as 6, I will get 23 by 20 plus 0.615 by 6, which is turning out to be 1.2525. So therefore tau amplitude will become 8 into 300 into C is 6 into K is 1.2525 divided by pi d square. So therefore tau amplitude will be 8 into 300 into 6 into 1.2525 divided by pi, which is 5741.037 by d square. Now coming for mean stress, tau mean is equal to K due to shear into A F mean C by pi d square. So the same equation 11.1d, instead of K we should use stress correction factor only due to shear for mean shear stress calculation, whereas K tau is given by 1 plus 0.5 by C, which is not available in our design data handbook. You people should remember this equation. So K due to shear alone is given by 1 plus 0.5 by 6, that is 1.0833. So therefore tau mean will be 1.0833 into 8, F mean is 700, C is given as 6 by pi d square. So therefore tau mean is 8 into 700 into 6 divided by pi, which is turning out to be 11,586.5 by b square. So finally he has given the factor of safety for us. The factor of safety is 1.5. The factor of safety is 1.5. So finally, using factor of safety equation, N is equal to tau yield divided by tau mean minus tau amplitude plus 2 times tau amplitude tau yield divided by tau endurance. So this factor of safety equation is also not available in our design data handbook. You people should remember these two equations. Walls correction factor only because of shear, and that is only because of torsional effect, and also equation for factor of safety. So if I substitute and solve, I will get 1.5 is equal to tau yield is 550 given divided by tau mean is 11,586.5 by d square minus tau amplitude is 5741.037 by d square plus 2 times tau amplitude is 5741.037 into tau yield. Tau yield is given for us, which is 550 whole divided by d square into endurance is 400. Now if I solve this equation, I'll get the answer as D is equal to 7.681 millimeters. Therefore, from table 11.2 of page number 188, adopt standard wire size as D is equal to 8 millimeters. This is because of the reason from 6.5 to 11 the increment is 0.5, that is 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8. So anything more than 7.5 will be 8. So therefore mean diameter will be capital D is equal to C into small d, that is 48 mm. So this is the complete solution for problem number 20, wherein which we have designed helical spring subjected for fatigue loading. We have left out with one final case, that is helical spring subjected for tension. Let us solve the final problem on helical spring subjected for tension. Let me pause this video for a while so that people can copy it down. Later we will solve helical spring subjected for tension loading. Now moving ahead for the final problem of our discussion on design of springs, that is spring subjected for tension. The problem number 21 of our discussion states that design a helical spring for a spring loaded safety valve for the following data. Operating pressure is 1 megapascal, maximum pressure when the valve blows off is 1.075 megapascal, lift for the pressure range is 6 millimeters, diameter of the valve seat is 100 mm, maximum allowable shear stress is 0.4 gigapascals, modulus of rigidity is 86 GPa, spring index is 5.5. Assume this to be Ramsbottom safety valve. You people already studied and designed Ramsbottom safety valve in your course on machine drawing. So if you recall the Ramsbottom safety valve, the spring what we employ in Ramsbottom safety valve will be subjected for tensile loading. So if you have forgotten, kindly revisit Ramsbottom safety valve and observe its working condition so that you can understand how this spring operates in Ramsbottom safety valve. Springs used in Ramsbottom safety valve are subjected for tensile loading. So therefore, we are going to design a spring subjected for tension. The procedure employed to completely design the helical spring subjected for tension remains same as the procedure what we have employed for design of helical compressive spring. The only difference is that the formulas that we are going to employ to determine free length and pitch will differ. Let us understand how it differs and let us completely design this helical spring subjected for tensile loading in this final problem. If I list out the data given, we have, so for problem number 21, the data given are, there is an operating pressure, it starts operating when pressure reaches 1 megapascal. Let us take it as pressure P1 as 1 megapascal, and it completely blows off when pressure reaches 1.075 megapascals. So lift for this pressure range is given. So let us take it as y dash as 6 millimeters. So diameter of the valve seat. So dia of the valve seat is given as 100 millimeters. Maximum allowable shear stress tau allowable is specified as 0.4 gigapascal. Modulus of rigidity G is specified as 86 gigapascal, and spring index C is given as 5.5. So if I solve this problem, since the spring is used in Ramsbottom safety valve, it is subjected for tensile loading. So if you refer our design data handbook, page number 166, we have a sketch of extension spring, that is spring subjected for tensile loading. You can refer page number 166 of our design data handbook. We are referring design data handbook written by K. Mahadevan and K. Balavir Reddy, 4th edition. Now we already know that we should design the spring for maximum deflection and maximum force. So first thing is that I should determine what is the maximum force and maximum deflection, and later I should have allowable shear stress, modulus of rigidity, and spring index which are given to us. So therefore I can design this spring completely. So first let us determine maximum force and maximum deflection. So for pressure P1, let us determine force F1. So first one is operating force. Operating force F1 will become pressure into area, that is pressure into area. Valve seat diameter is known, pi d square by 4. So therefore, if I substitute pressure as P1 is 1 megapascal, 1 into pi into diameter is 100 square by 4. So I will get force F1 as 7853.98 newtons. So similarly, if I find maximum force, let us take it as F2, that is P2 into pi d valve seat diameter square by 4. So pressure is 1.075 into pi d square by 4. So I will get maximum force as 8443.03 newtons. So for this force range, we have a lift of 6 mm. So how much is the deflection for the maximum force of 8443 newton is the question. That is, for force of F2 minus F1, we have deflection of 6 millimeters. For maximum force F2, what is the deflection? So do cross multiplication. So if I do cross multiplication, I will get deflection Y max as 6 into F2 divided by F2 minus F1. So therefore Y max will be 6 into F2 is 8443 divided by 8443 minus 7854. So therefore we get maximum deflection as 6 into 8443 divided by 8443 minus 7854. That is, maximum deflection is 86 millimeters. So you know maximum force 8443 newtons, you know maximum deflection 86 mm. Now design for maximum force and maximum deflection. Design for F max and Y max. So we know that step 1 is to find wire diameter. So to find wire diameter, use allowable shear stress equation. Tau allowable is equal to 8F Ck by pi d square. This is equation 11.1d of our design data handbook, where K is Wahl's correction factor, which is given by 4c minus 1 by 4c minus 4 plus 0.615 by c. This is equation number 11.2a. So if I substitute, I will get the value of K as spring index is 5.5, 4 into 5.5 minus 1 divided by 4 into 5.5 minus 4 plus 0.615 by 5.5. So Wahl's correction factor is turning out to be 1.2785. So we know all the values. Tau available is known, 400 megapascals. Force is also known, C is also known. The only unknown is diameter. So therefore, if I solve, I will get the diameter as 400 megapascals is equal to 8 into maximum force is 8443 into C is 5.5 into K is 1.2785 whole divided by pi d square. So therefore D is equal to 400 is equal to 8 into 8443 into 5.5 into 1.2785 divided by pi into alpha x square. If I solve, I will get wire diameter as 19.44 mm. So now we cannot standardize the wire diameter, because if I refer table 11.2 of our design data handbook, the standard wire size is available only till 17 millimeters. So therefore anything more than 17 millimeters round off to next higher whole number. So therefore 19.44 can be approximated as 20 mm as the wire diameter. I cannot standardize because from table 11.2 I have the standard wire size available is 17 millimeters. Anything more than 17 I cannot standardize. So therefore here itself I am approximating it as 20 millimeters. Now moving ahead, step 2 is to find coil or turn diameters. To find coil dia. So now to find coil diameter, we already know mean diameter is equal to C into small d. Small d is 20, C is 5.5. So therefore 20 into 5.5 is 110. So outside diameter is mean diameter plus small d. 110 plus 20 is 130. Inside diameter is d minus d. So therefore it will become 90 mm. Now moving for step 3 to find active number of coils. Now in order to find active number of coils, I should use deflection equation. We already know deflection equation is given by 8 F d cube I divided by G d power 4. 8F d cube I divided by G d power 4. So this is equation 11.5a. We know maximum deflection. Maximum deflection is 86 mm. 8 into force is 8443 into, let me take it as C cube. C is 5.5. So 5.5 cube into I divided by GD. G is 86 gigapascal. So it is 86 into 10 to the power of 3 megapascal into D. D is 20 mm. So therefore active number of coils will be 86 is equal to 8 into 8443 into 5.5 cube into alpha x divided by 86 exponential 3 into 20. If I solve, I will get active number of coils as 13.16. So approximately 14 coils. Next, moving ahead, fourth step is to find directly in the fourth step we are going to find the free length. Let us calculate the free length. Here if you observe, since we have half of the coil here and half of the coil here, and then we have a protrusion of hook. So therefore I can take only one additional coil. So therefore total number of coils I can take it as that is I dash can be taken as I plus 1. You can observe at the end we have only half coil here, half coil here. Later we have the hook projection. So I dash is equal to 15 coils. Now coming for formula of free length is denoted by L naught. L naught is equal to ID plus I minus 1 into 1 mm. So here always we had a free length formula as solid length plus deflection plus alliance. Here there is no question of maximum deflection because the spring itself will be in the solid state. So therefore we can't take maximum deflection into account to find the free length. So maximum deflection is ruled out because the spring itself will be in a compressed position in the initial stage itself. That is the spring which is rated for tension. So we have solid length plus alliance is left out. Now coming for alliance, always we'll take the alliance as the number of coils minus 1 and the gap between the coils in its free length position or unloaded position will be 1 mm. So we consider 1 mm as the alliance between the coils when it is unloaded. So therefore the alliance will be number of active coils minus 1 into 1 millimeters. That is, we assume that there is a 1 millimeter gap between each coil when it is unloaded. So this is the formula for free length. Kindly make a note of this. So therefore free length L naught will be 14 into diameter is 20 plus 13 into 1 mm. That is 293 millimeters. I minus 1 into 1 mm. So we can consider 1 mm gap between the coils when it is unloaded. So therefore free length will be 293 millimeters. And next, moving for pitch, that is fifth step. If I calculate pitch is given by L naught divided by I minus 1. So this is the formula for pitch when spring is subjected for tensile loading. Kindly make a note of this formula. So free length is 293 divided by 13. So pitch is 22.54 millimeters. Next, moving for sixth step, that is spring stiffness. Spring stiffness F naught is equal to F max by Y max. So therefore spring stiffness in newtons per millimeter will be F max is 8443 divided by maximum deflection is 86 mm. So it is turning out to be 98.17 Newton per millimeter. So finally let us calculate the overall length, total length of spring. Total length of spring is equal to pi d I dash, that is pi times mean diameter is 110 into total number of coils is 15. So total length is 5184 mm. So this is the complete solution for problem number 21, where in which we have designed spring subjected for tensile loading. So this completes our discussion on design of springs. In this unit we have discussed, in our first lecture I have derived expression for allowable shear stress and also for deflection. And later we have designed helical compressive spring with circular cross section wire, and then we have discussed buffer springs, and later we took helical compressive spring with non-circular cross section wire, wherein which we have discussed square cross section wire and rectangular cross section wire. Later we have discussed design of concentric or composite springs, that is springs connected in series and parallel, and then we have discussed leaf springs and design of semi-elliptical leaf springs which are predominantly used in automobiles, and then we have discussed design of disc spring and springs effect for torsion loading. The disc springs are used in high capacity applications of valves where large amount of force is required to produce very small deflection. And then we have discussed springs subjected for fatigue loading, and finally we have discussed springs subjected for tensile loading. So this completes our discussion on design of springs. From next lecture we are ready to discuss design of belt drives, rope drives and chain drives. That's all from this lecture. Thank you all.